Hello everyone! So, I know that I didn't make many videos last year. Life was changing for me at the time, and I wanted to adjust to it before I got back into making videos again. So, sorry to keep you waiting. Anyways, this year is going to be huge for Sonic. It got a new movie coming out this April, a new collection of classic games, and the next mainline game coming out this holiday season. One project is scheduled to release during the fall of this year, and it's a Netflix exclusive series, Sonic Prime. This is actually one of the few times I'm going to talk about what I would love to see in a TV show instead of a game. So, let's begin. Sonic Prime has been confirmed to be another 3D cartoon series, following Sonic Boom. Personally, I would have loved it to be hand-drawn animation, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. The people behind the animation is the animation company Man of Action. They were behind such shows like Ben 10 and Generator X. I never really watched any of these shows back when they were on, and I do know they worked on Mega Man Fully Charged, which is a show I have seen clips of, and it looks like it has promise. I think this is the style they're going to go with for Sonic Prime. I just hope it's more fluid and they are able to show off Sonic's speed in very unique ways, especially when it comes to the fight scenes in the show. One thing before we move on, I think it would be really cool if they can pull off a cel-shaded animation style. Something like What If. That would be really pretty if they can actually do that, but again, not necessary. Now, let's talk about the premise of the show. In Sonic Prime, Sonic is traveling the multiverse, which in this case is called the Shadowverse. I feel like it's called that because Eggman must have made a device that actually shattered the multiverse, and it's up to Sonic to restore other universes before something really bad happens. There was a tweet from Duncan below that says the show is similar in tone to Generator X. So that's something to compare Prime to for the people who have watched that show. Honestly, I'm really glad that's the case since this is a show that I believe that should have overarching storytelling like The Last Airbender or even Sonic X, instead of the episodic route that shows take like Sonic Boom. I believe that we are going to see Sonic friends appear frequently in the show, and there are two possibilities. They're either going to travel with Sonic through these universes, or they're going to stay in the Prime universe to contact him so he doesn't get lost. This show might have Sonic not be in his home universe for a good portion of it, because he might get lost in the Shadowverse. I would really love it if there's some huge consequences in one episode that could affect Sonic's adventure going forward in the show. Before moving on to the next subject, I am really glad that Ian Flynn is a consultant on the show, so that makes me really excited. With a premise based around the multiverse, the universes in the Shadowverse have to be very unique from each other. I will discuss some of my ideas for potential universes that I would love to see, but before I do that, we actually got some universes confirmed, I believe. On Sonic's 30th birthday last year, we actually got some concept art for the show leaked from one of the designers of the show. First, we had this art of Sonic in this Eggman Land universe, so safe to assume this is another interpretation of Eggman conquering the world following Sonic forces. However, there's a whole family of Eggman, so this means they're the same Eggman just at different ages, or they're actual relatives like a normal family. If it's the latter, oh my gosh, Mama about an exaggerate canon. Anyways, we had Tails who has 9 tails, insert Naruto joke here. Judging the look on Tails' face, maybe this is a universe where Sonic never existed. Then we had this concept art of Sonic running away from the Eggman where he's attempting to escape through portals. One of these portals showed an Echidna logo on the pirate flag. So maybe this is a universe where the Echidnas were never taken out by Chaos and now Knuckles must have taken over as a new leader. So we might get another interpretation of Knuckles being the bad guy, but this time he'll be really evil due to the upbringings of him being raised by the Echidna tribe, rather than him being manipulated by an outside force like Eggman. If this ends up being true, this year we had 2 separate Sonic vs. Knuckles fights. What a time to be a Knuckles fan. The other universe that we only have one picture of is somewhat a prehistoric dimension that has a prehistoric interpretation of Amy. Really couldn't say much about this dimension other than the fact that we might have Sonic and Amy team up to fight dinosaurs if that's the possibility. Okay, now that we got into concept art out of the way, I want to discuss some ideas of some universes I would love to see. One idea is the Soul Dimension. I mean, Blaze is an alternate dimension counterpart to Sonic, so this is a universe that should be in Sonic Prime. It will be a spiritual successor to the Sonic Rush series in terms of story, and that'll be fun. I only have 2 ideas for 2 original universes. One universe ideal is where Sonic Man, yes, that Sonic Man, is a hero instead of Prime Sonic. However, unlike his Hedgehog counterpart, Sonic Man is not a good guy. Have you ever seen The Boys? Yeah, he's pretty much Homelander, but you know, in a PG setting. I know there's a good amount of people who want an evil Sonic in this show, and I think having a human counterpart to Sonic to fill that role will be a nice little twist to that archetype. The other universe ideal is evil Wisp that has taken over the universe. I mean, the entire Wisp race are inherently evil conquerors like the Black Arms. Now you might be thinking, how can you make the Wisp evil? Well, have you ever seen The Thing? You know how people can use the Wisp as temporary power-ups? Now imagine that, but the Wisp can take over someone and become parasitic hosts. I don't really have much to say about original universes, but there's an opportunity I would want Prime to absolutely take advantage of. This is a show where Sonic goes across the multiverse. I would love to see Sonic visit other established universes that are part of Sonic's history. I think that would be a great opportunity to celebrate 30 years of Sonic being multimedia. Yes, I love original and creative universes as well, but having Sonic visit some other established continuities would be a great nostalgia trip. There are a lot of Sonic continuities that could be explored in Sonic Prime, but I just selected 3 just to keep it simple. What I'm going to do is discuss some ideas of what they can do with these crossover episodes and some concerns that they actually do these episodes. First off, we have the Sonic Boom universe. The reason why I feel like this show should be included is because it's the last Sonic show before Prime. This would be a great opportunity for Prime Sonic to interact with the Boom cast and even Styx, a character that I believe is underrated. I think this episode should be more of a laid-back episode that comes out after a big climactic one. One dynamic in this episode that could be interesting is Boom Sonic not getting along with Prime Sonic at first, due to him being a much more cynical interpretation of Sonic, so that'll be something. By the end, both Sonics are on good terms, especially since I think the climax of the episode should be between Sonic and Boom Team against Boom Eggman. The next Sonic show I would love for Prime Sonic to visit is the AOSTH universe, since that is the very first Sonic cartoon of all time. Similar to the Boom episode, I just think this would be a much lighter episode, but a bit more loony like the original show. Seeing Prime Sonic reacting to AOSTH Sonic using disguises against Scratch and Grounder and how bizarre the characters are in general would be such a treat. Also, the episode has to end with a Sonic says. It has to end with that. Finally, I would love to see the Sat AM universe, and this continuity would be great for Prime. Unlike what I said about the Boom and the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog episodes where only Sonic teams up with his counterparts there, Eggman will team up with Sat AM Robotnik, which that interaction alone will be really funny. Also, unlike the previous discussed episodes, this crossover will be much more integrated into Prime's overarching storyline due to Prime Eggman's appearance in this episode. On the Sonic side of things, we will finally get to see a return of the Freedom Fighters, even if it's just for one episode. It would be great to see how Prime Sonic interacts with Princess Sally, which I know a lot of fans of both Archie and Sally are dying for. Side note, there is some legal activity involving Sally and the Freedom Fighters on whether or not Sega America completely owns them, but to reassure everyone who is wondering, they're not owned by Ken Penders. Now when I think about it, Sonic is cursed with legal cases, isn't he? Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, Prime Sonic and the Freedom Fighters teaming up, it would give this great sense of East meets West. Since Prime Sonic is from the game canon, which is what Sega Japan established, while Sat AM and the Freedom Fighters lore were established by Sega America. Now that I have stated what I want from these crossovers, I do have my concerns. With Boom, there was a plot point in the finale of the show where it stated that dimensional counterparts can't interact with each other. Honestly, they probably just retconned that. For both of these shows, these are shows that were done in hand-drawn animation versus what Prime is going to be, which is a computer-generated series. So, are they going to change the style of animation to be hand-drawn when Prime Sonic enters these universes? Or are they going to have these universes in CG? I think to save money, they would just keep all the universes in CGI, even though I believe 2D animation for Adventures in Sat AM will be much more faithful to the original source material. At the time of this video, we haven't had confirmation whether or not the voice cast from the games are going to reprise their roles in the show. But even then, would Madam Ashton go out of the way to get Jaleel White as Sonic, Kate Susie as Sally, and Jim Cummings as Sat AM Robotnik if they decide to do these universes? Even then, the voice actor of Adventures Robotnik, Lon John Baudry, sadly passed away in 2005. Since Sat AM was a story-focused show, where would the crossover take place in that show's timeline? Would it take place between some episodes of the second season, or make it take place between season 2 and a hypothetical season 3? Even though I would love for something like a continuation of the show, like the fan dub of season 3 from Teen Season 3, I want Prime Eggman and Sat AM Robotnik to team up, so preferably it should take place between Spy Hog and the Doomsday Project, in the perspective of the Sat AM characters. Then again, these problems will only arise if they're going to do these universes. Here's something I should have mentioned earlier. Wildbrain owns the rights to the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and SatAM due to the acquisitions of Deke a while back, so the possibility of these universes being in Prime is there at least. Overall, I would love to see Sonic Prime actually make some crossover episodes with past Sonic continuities since the opportunity is there. I know there are some people who will ask what's the point of these shows being in Prime when they are non-canon to the games, which I should ask, why not? We are talking about a show where Sonic visits the multiverse, and said show is part of Sonic's 30th anniversary celebration. This would be a great excuse to explore the other universes, not to mention what every other company is doing with their franchises these days. These shows are part of Sonic's long-lasting legacy, and they should be celebrated because of that. I mean, they literally gave Sonic his love for chili dogs, which became part of his character years later. However, if the writers of Sonic Prime don't want to explore other shows because they simply just don't want to, that's completely fine. I understand. Tell your story how you want to tell it. We shouldn't force them to do that if they simply don't want to. I understand it would be way past cool for Sonic to explore and have adventures in these continuities. I really don't have much to say about anything else, but here are some things I want to address. So can we please have Crush 4 to be part of the show, especially the theme song? I don't want it to be like Boom where it was just one short guitar riff. Not to mention that some moments of the Japanese dub of Sonic X actually had Live and Learn playing in the background. I don't know if there are any Netflix shows that do this, but can this show be a weekly upload instead of having all the episodes be released at the same time? I'm seeing that the show could be slightly more relevant in the community where people have to wait for the next episode to be released. Finally, since the show is scheduled to premiere in the fall, I think Sonic Prime is going to have cross-promotion with Sonic Frontiers, where Sonic can wear the shoes and gloves he has on from the concept art of the show if Frontiers has customizable cosmetics for Sonic to wear. So that was my wish list for Sonic Prime. It's really not often that I do wish lists off on TV shows, but here we are. If I'm going to say one thing about other Sonic shows possibly being in Sonic Prime, Adventures in Sonic Boom were recently announced to be getting re-released on Blu-ray as a complete series. I believe it's just a huge coincidence, but it's something for people who want to own these shows on Blu-ray. To be honest, I genuinely don't know if Prime will explore other shows in some of his episodes, and I'm leaning towards that they're probably not, but I would love to be proven wrong. However, the most important thing is that I hope that Sonic Prime is a good show at least. That was my video on Sonic Prime. I want to thank Team Season 3 for letting me use footage of their completed work, and you can check out more of their work on these social media sites in the description down below. You can check out my other content here, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, well, here you go. I know it's been a long while since this happened, but I want to say thank you guys so much for reaching over 200 subscribers. I am incredibly grateful for y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Yo, can we talk about how clean Sonic's shoes are? Oh my gosh, they look so clean!